Okay, in the last installment, we just finished talking about the 3 RPQ papers, the 5 to 7 page papers that you're going to be doing out in the field, whether you're working, doing an internship, and volunteering, and so forth. You'll be working intentionally with your cluster mates. Again, depending on your advisor, depending on your degree area, these clusters can be anywhere from 2 people working together to 4 folks that interact to essentially a Vermont town meeting. Some of the degree areas actually put 15, 20 students in contact with one another so that they can share information, but in different kinds of ways than actually intentionally opening a dialogue one-on-one. So, in these clusters, these have proved to be very effective over the last couple of years of SIT students, some of them feeling rather isolated in their location, but being able to share information and ideas in their degree areas with shared interests, halfway around the world with one another through Skype, through phone messages, and through Moodle. Moodle. So, all right, so we've got our clusters, and we can talk more about that if you like. Now, we come to the centerpiece of your work, of your master's degree, and this is your capstone paper. Your capstone paper is, again, it is not a doctoral dissertation. It is a 30 to 50 page paper. Quite manageable. One has to watch delimiting. Okay, what can I say in 30 to 50 pages effectively that talks about the workplace and the academic assignments associated with that. But it's a 30 to 50 page paper, and you will have a couple avenues that you can follow that you need to be thinking about right now, right into spring as you're on campus. There are 2 ways to complete your final capstone paper project within the 6-month period. One way to do this is through the Independent Practitioner Inquiry Capstone, or the IPIC. I get to pick it. Get it? So you get to pick your particular capstone topic, very much like you would find in your practitioner inquiry class. The same sort of precision, the same sort of rigor, the same sort of meaningful connections in the workplace with larger contribution of fresh knowledge to the profession and so forth. Again, it's not rocket science, but it requires some precision in terms of forming the elegant, precise research question, the research focus, the research theme, through interviews, through surveys, and so forth. The IPIC is an individualized research question related to your professional practice and degree area. So it is founded right within your degree specialty, okay? You'll be using then the principles of practitioner inquiry to research the question. Very generally, you'll be out there, you'll be looking around, oh, this is the phenomena that you find, that you've got to talk more about, write about, and so forth. You will begin investigating that phenomena. You will write a research proposal that will be massaged perhaps by your cluster, certainly with feedback from your advisor to be approved. You will then go through a human subjects review process that we'll talk about later as well, but you probably heard about it in PI as well. Is that, again, we're all about protecting one another from harm. And therefore, if you're choosing to go out and do research, interactive research with other people, then it's very important that you ensure safety professionally, economically, politically, depending on where you are. And therefore, there's an entire set of instructions around the human subject review process that we'll talk about. You must complete the human subject review application and get that approved before you actually start going around interviewing people or writing people, observing people, and so forth formally. Okay? So that, again, we'll have more discussions about that. The second, that's one avenue, the IPIC. The second avenue is the Course Linked Capstone, or CLC, the CLIC. we found that the click over the last few years is a very effective way to move ahead in your RPP experience. What the click does is the click is linked to an on-campus course. The click normally uses the vocabulary, theories, and familiar assignments from that course. Case in point, in the spring semester, international education students will be taking something called the Design and Delivery course. It's a bit like the Development Management course that SD students take, and management students take, and so forth. They're, in the spring, IE students, international education students, will be working in a group to design a project for an agency, for a nonprofit, for a community in terms of an international education model. And so there's a whole host, there's a set of instructions that to be followed in the way we do that well in IE. So, what will happen is that these international education students will go out in their RPP individually, find themselves in a rural area of Africa, in a university in the United States or Europe, in an NGO in South America, and if they chose the CLC, Design and Delivery, IE model and so forth, what they would simply do is take the set of instructions that have been adopted from the on-campus class and apply them to their off-campus situation. Get it? This makes it very easy for cluster mates to recognize the kind of work that's going on in the field by the student, by you, out in the field. It's easier for the professor to facilitate the vocabulary, the theories and so forth, the work that you're doing out in the field as well. So, you can see just how the beauty and the elegance of this CLC has to do with kind of being able to hit the ground running and move ahead with a particular prescriptive design that doesn't have you sitting under a tree somewhere thinking, now my research focus, what shall I study? What shall be my research focus? How would I frame that in the terms of a master quality research question? There's some students that do that very well. There's other students that pick up on, no, I'll use the policy advocacy model out of SD. These are, or any one of these currently approved CLC courses that you must have taken, right? The way to do a CLC, you must have taken that course. Training of trainers in SJ and ICC, strategic management course, the International Education Design and Delivery, leadership, community and coalition, program monitoring and evaluation, policy advocacy, theory and practice of SD, conflict and identity, theory and practice of conflict transformation, or initiatives in peace building. There's several more CLCs that are emerging. We're in dialogue right now with the degree areas to have those approved as well. But you got the sense of it? So, what you've done in the class normally will be adapted in meaningful ways that you can easily recognize and allow you to move through the process. So, in the process, this is oftentimes from start to finish, we found it to be perhaps a 12-month experience on the average. Some students do it faster than that. Some students take longer than a year to kind of put all this together. But if you leave in May, it's quite possible you could come back the next May and enter into the capstone seminar, which again we'll talk more about in the longer orientation. Okay? So some folks leave in May, can make it by the February capstone, but it's more likely you'll be back in May or August. Many folks will either be in May, August, even into the fall. Not to worry. That's just sort of the piece of that. Also, finally, you must make sure that by the time you graduate and so forth, you've got that language requirement out of the way too. Enough said, right? On that. Okay, well, this ends this volume, and we'll move on then to the administrative orientation.